Well, may I set the stage? I shall impersonate a man. Come, tie to my imagination and see him. His name Ali Khamsa, a cinema student. Looks older than he actually is. Being in quarantine, he has much time to write. He writes from morn till night, and often through the night and morn again. And while he writes, he listens to musicals. They inspire him and fill him with compassion of man's ability to create such perfect forms of art. He ponders how to talk about these amazing inventions, and suddenly he conceives the strangest project ever imagined: to record himself talking about musicals and publish them on a video sharing platform. No longer will his rambling go unheard, but they'll form the fourth episode of Born in Quarantine, about the man of La Mancha. I love musicals. In movies after westerns, they are my favorite genre, and I love listening to them. And I think they are best of all worlds. You have music, you have acting, you have camera, you have storytelling, you have all of them in this amazing package. When I write, which I do a lot in quarantine, I like to listen to them. I play a recording of them and I go to continue my writing. And I realized that I have a few set ones that I keep coming back to because I am a creature of habit and I like repetition. Musicals like Cats, Mango, Jerry and Rumpelteazer have a wonderful way of working together, and some of the time you would say it was luck, and some of the time you would say it was weather. Notre Dame de Paris. Belle is the only word I know that suits her well. When she dances, oh, the stories she can tell. A free bird trying out her wings to fly away. And when I see her move, I'd see hell to pay. Fiddler on the Roof. Life has a way of confusing us, blessing and boozing us. Drink l'chaim to life. Hair. We starve, look at one another short of breath, walking proudly in our winter coats, wearing smells from laboratories, facing a dying nation of moving paper fantasy. The producers. Springtime for Hitler and Germany. Deutschland is happy and gay. We're marching to a faster pace. Look out, here comes the master race. And of course, Man of La Mancha. Hear me now, oh, the bleak and unbearable world, debased and debauched as can be. And the knight with his banners all bravely unfurled now hurls down his gauntlet to thee. I have a pot here, but it falls off my head when I'm trying to sing, so imagine this is here. Let's first talk about musicals in general. My first journey into musicals was primarily movie musicals, and I'd argue that in many aspects it is still is. I love movie musicals a little bit better than the stage because the camera can get involved too. I've watched stage recordings of Chicago, but none of them felt as good as the movie Chicago. From what I can see in movie musicals, at least there are different musicals. You have the staple of movie musicals, the Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Jane Kelly, the Golden Age musicals. They are mostly jukebox. Few of them have songs specifically written for them. They usually have very predictable stories, very likable characters, and singing and dancing was a staple to showcase these actors' powers. I love Fred Astaire, and I think there will never be a man with that much star power and that much ability in his dancing. But these movies were more about showcasing this than a good story. There were some that had incredible stories like Singing in the Rain, An American in Paris, Daddy Long Legs, Shall We Dance, but most of them were about showcasing their stars. And these musicals are extremely good, and they gave birth to some of my favorite songs. When an irresistible force such as you meets an old immovable object like me, you can guess as sure as you live. Something's gotta give, something's gotta give, something's gotta give. But there are one aspect that you have to see the movies to realize how good they are. Singing in the Rain is an amazing movie, but it's not a movie that I listen to its soundtrack. I rather watch it more than I rather hear it. Because the songs, they don't tell a story, they don't advance the story, they are set pieces. I mean, yes, Singing in the Rain, the song is a great song, but it's not made for this movie. The movie was written around the song, so I rather watch Gene Kelly dance than to hear him sing. Then there is the operatic ones, Les Mis or Phantom of the Opera. Andrew Lloyd Webber does a lot of them. Jesus Christ Superstar, I put in that category also. They are these big stories that have so many characters going from at it all the time. Cats is one of them. And by the way, I watched the movie and I'm still seeing nightmares because of it. And they are great and I listen to them a lot, but they are too big, if that makes sense. They have so much character, so much story going on, and not enough character study. It's all about the events, Les Mis is not studying the character of Jean Valjean the same way that a musical like Notre Dame de Paris, actually I have the Hunchback of the Notre Dame book here, and the way Notre Dame de Paris explores the character of Quasimodo. Then there is the third kind, the kind that is Fiddler on the Roof, Camelot, and to an extent a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum. These musicals are about small incidents. Fiddler on the Roof is about this guy who has 3 daughters that he wants to marry them with his traditions. None of them accept. It makes a good drama, but it's a great musical because the songs, all of the songs, help develop this character. If I Were a Rich Man, it's about how Tevye sees his faith and his traditions, if that makes sense. And our subject today, Man of La Mancha. I am very biased when it comes to Man of La Mancha because Don Quixote, the book, is one of my favorite literary masterpieces of all time. I love it. And it's funny, it's heartwarming, it's heart-clenching, it's all of that. And the best thing about it, it's so open to interpretation that a lot of great stories came from it. The musical is not a direct adaptation of Don Quixote, it's taken stuff from it, but it does vary a little in a good way and creates this weird, unique portrait of both Don Quixote and Miguel de Cervantes. To be honest, I know Miguel de Cervantes probably wasn't like how the musicals portray him, but after listening, watching, reading the musical, I really can't imagine him in any other form. I keep imagining this brother to Don Quixote, which I know probably isn't right because he was a lot crankier apparently. But the musical works in such a great way of portraying this character that may be a lie, but it's a good character. So the musical isn't a 100% adaptation of the book, but it does take something that I think very important. It takes the soul of the character of Don Quixote and creates some amazing songs using them. The world of Don Quixote is a world of contradictions. You have this character of Don Quixote, which I will go a little bit further into in another chapter, but you have this character that is seemingly very joyful, very bashful, very happy looking, and he doesn't see the misery that surrounds him. And the musical has a great balance of songs that showcase all the aspects of the world that Don Quixote, Sancho, Aldonza, and the poor priest, they all occupy. I want to talk about the songs for a while. Some of them, not all of them, you don't have to hear me sing all of them. But the musical has a very good range, as I said. For example, you have a song like I Am I, Don Quixote. I am I, Don Quixote, the Lord of La Mancha, destroyer of evil am I. And the wild wings of fortune will carry me onward, whithersoever they blow. A song about chivalry. It's a call to arms for this character who thinks he is righteous, and he goes into the wilderness for his lady Dulcinea, for what he has in his mind. I love this song because, well, it's a call to arms. It's very well written. The lyrics are good. It's a great song in and of itself. But in context of the story, it paints a great picture of what Don Quixote is. He is very thin, he's very old, he's retired, he's on the verge of dying, and yet he can find it in himself to go out and adventure with his friend Sancho on his old horse, and yells that I am I, Don Quixote, come fight me. I may die, but I don't care. I see the world through my own eyes. I don't care if this horse isn't the steed that I see. I don't care if the windmill isn't a giant. I'm still gonna fight it. I love this song because it paints a great picture. It's a great character development song, and it tells you everything you need to know about this character. On the other side of the spectrum, you have a song like Aldonza. I was born in a ditch by a mother who left me there, naked and cold and too hungry to cry. I never blamed her, I'm sure she left hoping that I'd have the good sense to die. Aldonza is a miserable song. I mean, when I'm hearing it, I almost choke up all the time because it's sadness and misery over sadness and misery on this one poor character. And it's the other end of the spectrum. You hear I Am I, Don Quixote, and you feel up. You hear Aldonza, and you suddenly realize this world that Don Quixote occupies is the same world that Aldonza occupies, and Aldonza is suffering. I mean, by God, is she suffering? She sings the song in the musical after she got raped. You see what I mean by contradictions. You have Don Quixote, this character of chivalry, and apparently absent-minded and blind to the misery of others. And you have this miserable character who's trying her best just to survive. And you have all of that with two songs. That's what I love about musicals also, because songs, they tell the story in this manner, and I love it. But you have these two songs and they can't be more different. I'm sorry if I'm smiling, it's just very awkward for me to talk about this stuff. These are very emotional stuff to me. Then you have songs that, well, are just there to paint a picture. Spanish Inquisition plays a big part.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
Because Miguel is holed up in the prison, waiting for his trial. So yeah, Spanish Inquisition plays a big part, religion plays a big part. And in the world of Don Quixote, you have this priest, and he has one of the funniest songs in the whole musical, because, well, the musical is about contradictions, and you have this very serious moment that Don Miguel de Cervantes might get burned at the stake. Yet, you have this funny song, I'm Only Thinking of Him, and the center of it is a priest. They're only thinking of him, they're only thinking of him. How saintly is the plaintive plea, they're only thinking of him. What a comfort to be sure that the motives are so pure. They're only caring and worrying about him. There are a couple of funny songs actually in the whole musicals. The barber song, the Golden Helmet of Mambrino. I like him. And I would say even Sancho's plea at the end, a little gossip, a little chat, is one of the funny songs. So there are these funny songs in this very serious moment. And remember, these are all the people that occupy the same space as Dulcinea, as Aldonza, the poor kitchen maid. So yeah, usually I would call it inconsistent or not in the same way, but weirdly in this musical they all work because all of them have a certain aspect of the world. It's hard to explain. I'm trying my best, but Don Quixote is the chivalrous part, is the postmodernist part. It's the stories of knights and what they did for the people, for the common man, and songs like Knight of the Woeful Countenance, and even To Each His Dulcinea. There are these songs about the chivalry, about the knight. You have Aldonza, and it's all the same. And these songs are about the more real aspects of this world. They are about the misery that everyday people, that the knights want to help, go through, and they are a bit obviously oblivious to it. Don Quixote thinks he's saving her, and as she says, you have shown me the sky, but what good is the sky to a creature who'll never do better than crawl? So, there's this very real, miserable aspect to it. And then you have the absurdist view. You have these characters who seemingly are neither trying to help or have the misery that they do. Barber that sings the barber song apparently is oblivious that he's one of the commoners. God saves the barbers by making the stubble grow. Or the priest, they're only thinking of it. They're characters of the maid, Don Quixote's maid, and his niece are amazing characters because they have this absurdist point of view, the joke that is this universe. They are not bogged down by misery and they are not mad. So they see it as the joke it is. They go and they pretend that they care about this character while the truth is they do not give a shit about them. And then you have a song which probably is a song that this musical is known for. And that's The Impossible Dream. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to ride where the brave do not go. It's the song that Man of La Mancha is known for, and I can see why. I don't think there's a song in the whole musical that encapsulates all of it, all of what Don Quixote is trying to do better than the impossible dream. He's trying to see the good parts. He's trying to stay true to what he believes in, even though the world has Aldonza. Why is Don Quixote Don Quixote? Because he's trying to dream the impossible dream. This is his quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far. So yeah, this musical has this amazing song, and they develop character and they develop universe, and it's amazing. But before going forward and talk about the character of Don Quixote and Don Miguel de Cervantes, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, the movie adaptation. Man of La Mancha, the movie, has the poor fortune of coming after Fiddler on the Roof, which was probably one of the best movie musicals to ever come out of the 70s. And it changed the face of musicals forever. So Man of La Mancha is kind of disappointing. It has the great writing, it has the great songs, but the way they choose to tell the story is very poor. The makeup is weird on Peter O'Toole. And there is the bad thing that Sophia Loren is a very bad singer. So when she sings, she butchers the songs. And the guy who dubs Peter O'Toole does a good job of imitating his voice, but he's so caught up in imitating his voice that he forgets that he needs to have emotion while he sings. It's not the worst movie out there, but it's not that good either. And I would love to see a better version of it. You know, one with a better method of storytelling, and one that doesn't feature Sophia Loren. Peter O'Toole, I think, did a good job as Miguel de Cervantes, but not a very good job as Don Quixote. But the movie did a great service for me, at least. I didn't know the story that well. I've read about it, but I only heard the music so far. So I watched the movie and I realized, oh, there was some amazing writing in there also. It's probably the shortest chapter I've ever done in one of these videos. Yeah, the movie, good, but not great, and definitely needs a remake. It's a remake I support, because the musical really has the potential to be much better than the movie was. As I mentioned, the book Don Quixote is very open to interpretation. A lot of people see Don Quixote as this mad man who is pitiful. Then you have the other interpretation that Don Quixote is in fact a modern human so in love with what came before him that he wants to be that. He tries to be that and he fails miserably. But in Man of La Mancha, Don Quixote is kind of a mixed bag. He is bringer of joy and good fortune wherever he goes. He brought Sancho, and Sancho really likes him. He came to Aldonza and made her Dulcinea. Yet he also can be seen as bringer of, well, unfortune. He takes the golden helmet of Mambrino from the poor barber. He ruins the inn that he's staying in. And he is kind of responsible for Aldonza's misfortune because, well, if it wasn't for him to tell her all of that, she wouldn't have gotten captured by the muleteers. So yeah, he's a mixed bag, but I think the best way to put what the musical is trying to do is to use one of his lines. I swear to God, I wish I could show you the line that was in the movie, because Peter O'Toole does an amazing job of doing it. I'm not a good actor, so I will probably butcher this, but I'll try to at least don't butcher it that bad. It's a dramatic reading. I have lived nearly 40 years, and I've seen life as it is. Pain, misery, hunger, cruelty beyond belief. I have heard the singing from taverns and the moans from bundles of filth on the street. I have been a soldier, and seen my comrades fall in battle, or die more slowly under the lash in Africa. I have held them in my arms at the final moment. These were men who saw life as it is, yet they died despairing. No glory, no gallant last words, only their eyes filled with confusion, whimpering the question, why? I do not think they asked why they were dying, but why they had lived at all. When life itself seems lunatic, who knows where madness lies? Perhaps to be too practical is madness. To surrender dreams, this may be madness. To seek treasure where there is only trash, too much sanity may be madness. And maddest of all, to see life as it is and not as it should be. I think Don Quixote in the eyes of musical is that person. He sees life as it should be. Yes, he's a madman. I can see that point of view. But he's a madman that is much wiser than many of the practical ones. He did the good thing. I agree, musical is biased. It tells the story. It can tell it however it wants. Aldonza became Dulcinea. Sancho became his squire. People whose life he touched, their lives flourished. Don Quixote isn't the harbinger of bad news. He is this mad character who, through his madness, helps you see life as it should be. Life is disappointing, but it doesn't have to be. So yeah, that's where the musical really touches me. I love the Don Quixote that it portrays, and I love the Cervantes that it portrays. And I love the music. The music has a very good Spanish vibe. I don't know if I'm saying it right. And I would really suggest you listen to Man of La Mancha. I would suggest you listen to the 2002 Broadway revival cast recording with Brian Stokes-Michael and Ernest Sabella, because that one is truly magnificent. Brian Stokes-Michael is amazing as Don Quixote, and the Aldonza rendition in that recording is just heartbreaking. I almost cry whenever I hear that. So yeah, I did it a bit of a different one. I know the series hasn't even taken root yet, and yet on the 4th episode I'm throwing it all at the wall and doing something different. But I think Born in Quarantine is more about different stuff. I don't want it to just be about movies that I watched. I wanted to talk about musicals. I probably do one about video games and books that I've read in the meantime. So yeah, it's about being stuck at home. So if that worked, I think the voice recorder is better this way. And if my computer, that worked, you'll see me and my Batman mug again.